So welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to our lecture series called Daily News in Shorts. In this lecture series, we cover a particular day's current affairs in a short span of time. Now, needless to say this, you have to revise this lecture just after watching it. Because if you don't and just watch this lecture, well, you'll quickly forget these current affairs that we have just covered. It will quickly skip your memory. Therefore, you need to solidify them in your memory by revising it. Now, you can revise these current affairs from the notes provided by us, and these notes shall be shared on our Telegram channel. The link to our Telegram channel is provided in the comment section below. Alright then, enough of the introduction. Let's straight away jump into the lecture. But first, let's take a look at the list of topics that we shall cover today. Okay, so let's begin. So daily current affairs, 27th November, Thursday, and here is the topics list. So number one on this list is rare earth magnet scheme. Recently, Union Cabinet has approved a scheme to manufacture rare earth magnets in India. So we'll talk about this critical scheme. It's very important for India. In fact, if this becomes successful, India will have a strategic advantage all over the world. So we'll talk about this very important scheme. Then, well, recently Tata Memorial Center has identified a cure for triple negative breast cancer. Okay, so what is triple negative breast cancer? What is this cure all about? We'll talk about this. Then, Chhattisgarh government is looking to make an archaeological site in Sirpur and give it a UNESCO tag, okay, UNESCO World Heritage tag. So we'll talk about Sirpur archaeological site. Then topic number 4 is related to Higher Education Commission of India Bill, which is going to be tabled in the winter session this year. And in the end, we'll talk about Constitution Day, key facts that most of you might miss out on, okay. Yesterday was Constitution Day, 26th of November, so we'll talk about this, all right. So these are the 5 news items that we shall zero in our attention on. So let's start discussing them one by one. Starting with topic number 1, and that is rare earth magnet scheme. Now listen to me very carefully, okay? You see, we all know that India wants to become Atmanirbhar, self-reliant, okay? Now there are a few technologies in which we have to become Atmanirbhar or self-reliant. For example, electric vehicles, green technologies, sustainable energy technologies, aerospace, defense, fighter jets, and many other defense applications. We have to become self-reliant in these technologies. We want to be able to manufacture them in our own backyard and not be import dependent. But all these technologies require rare earth magnets for their manufacture. Now, India is import dependent when it comes to rare earth magnets. Okay, India is significantly import dependent. In fact, most countries are. You know, the only country which has a near monopoly over rare earth elements is China. And we don't share that good relationship with China. So if tomorrow China stops the supply of rare earth magnets, well, we won't be able to manufacture these technologies in our own backyard. So manufacturing of rare earth magnets is critical for India's self-reliance and independence. Now, for this reason, Government of India has launched a scheme. Through that scheme, we'll be able to manufacture a lot of rare earth magnets that are required as a key raw material in many technologies of the 21st century. So let's talk about this scheme, okay, and the strategic advantage it will give us. All right, so let's begin. So rare earth magnet scheme. So what was in the news? So the Union Cabinet approved a rupees 7,280 crore program titled Scheme to Promote Manufacturing of Sintered Rare Earth Permanent Magnets. Rare earth permanent magnets, just remember it by the short form REPM. Okay. The objective of this scheme is to establish 6,000 metric tons per annum. 6,000 metric tons per annum of rare earth magnets will be able to produce if this scheme becomes successful. Capacity in India to boost self-reliance. Now, to understand more about rare earth magnets or to understand their significance, you need to have some technical knowledge about rare earth magnets. So let's gather that technical knowledge. Okay. So rare earth magnets. So what is a rare earth magnet? Well, basically, it is one of the most powerful magnets. And the reason why they are powerful is because they are made up of rare earth elements. Now, rare earth, as the name suggests, well, they are rare to make. And China has near monopoly on these rare earth elements. And in a sense, China has a near monopoly on rare earth magnets. So rare earth magnet is a strong permanent magnet made from alloys of rare earth elements. They were first discovered in 1970s and 80s. Okay, so these magnets are made up of alloys of rare earth elements. We'll talk about those alloys. Okay, Now, its applications are in electric vehicles, renewable energy, electronics, aerospace, defense applications. Okay. Now, read this. This is key. These magnets provide magnetic field essential for EV components such as electric motors. Electric vehicles run on electric motors, power steering, wiper motor, braking system. Everything requires rare earth magnets. Okay. So, it is a critical raw material. Importance for India. Why is it important for India to manufacture them in India only? India's demand for REPMs is projected to double by 2030. But currently, we are heavily import dependent. So our demand is increasing, and if we do not manufacture these magnets in India, our imports would also double. Okay, so that is why we need to manufacture them in India. Now, let's know more about rare earth magnets. So rare earth magnets are of two types basically. Okay, number one category is known as neodymium magnets. Now, why are they called neodymium magnets? Because they are made from an alloy of neodymium, which is a rare earth element, iron and boron. So neodymium, iron and boron are mixed, an alloy is created and you make magnets from that. So these are called neodymium magnets. Remember, they are the most powerful magnets, the most powerful and the most widely used. Then there is another category of magnets called samarium cobalt magnets. Samarium is a rare earth element. So you mix samarium and cobalt, make an alloy, and then you create a magnet. Now, this magnet is also powerful, but not as powerful as neodymium. But it is resistant to heat and corrosion. So sometimes many applications use these type of magnets where corrosion is a possibility. Nonetheless, these are the two types of magnets. Simple. Okay. Will you be able to remember this? Remember this. Okay. Now, about the scheme. So what is the scheme all about? What are the key details of the scheme? So it will provide sales linked incentive. All the companies who would be enrolled under this scheme, well, they will get a sales linked incentive. So if they increase their sales, then as a percentage of those extra sales, they'll get some money from the government. Okay. The scheme includes rupees 6,450 crores in sales linked incentive for REPM sales over 5 years. Then capital subsidy if you want to establish a plant for rare earth magnets. 750 crore capital subsidy to support setting up of these facilities. Then capacity allocation. Capacity will be distributed to 5 beneficiaries through competitive bidding. You remember, government's aim is to create 6,000 metric tons of rare earth magnets annually, right? So this 6,000 tons would be manufactured by 5 big companies. Each company will be given to a maximum of 12,000 metric tons. This is how you'll allocate capacity to each unit. So this is a key component of this scheme. Now, what benefit we will get out of this? Okay, what is the strategic significance? Why we are stressing so much on this scheme? First of all, the China factor. China dominates rare earth magnet production and imposed export controls in April linked to US tariffs. They introduced export controls and this somehow limited the amount of exports of rare earth magnets, and our industry suffered because of that. So we got a wake-up call. We need to make these magnets here. Okay. Chinese restrictions affected global automakers, including Indian EV manufacturers, causing supply chain challenges. We are already import dependent. And then there are geopolitical vulnerabilities. Tomorrow, if India and China are in a conflict, then China would stop their supply and it would hamper India's economy. So we need independence, strategic independence. All right. That's all you need to know as far as this topic is concerned. So let's quickly move on to next topic, and that is triple negative breast cancer. Okay. Now you need to have some background to understand this news. Okay. What is a cancer? Well, cancer is that kind of a disease in which a particular organ in your body starts to increase in size. Okay. Abnormally large. Why does this happen? Because the cells in that organ multiply profusely. They multiply, and the size increases. The extra size is known as the tumor. And when that tumor increases beyond certain levels, then it is called cancerous cancer. Clear? Now, the thing is that the cells in that tumor are called cancerous cells. Now, when you cure someone of cancer, when there is a therapy, the most famous therapy is chemotherapy. Okay? You inject medicine into that person, okay, chemo medicine, and that medicine kills cancerous cells. That's how you get cured through chemotherapy. Okay, but the catch is that medicine can also destroy your normal cells also. And sometimes it does destroy your normal cells. So how do you ensure that this particular medicine only reaches the cancerous cells? That is very important. This is known as targeted chemotherapy. Now, in targeted chemotherapy, what happens is that your medicine identifies cancerous cells. Now, to identify cancerous cells, well, there are certain proteins on cancerous cells. These are called receptors. These receptors are identified, one or two of these receptors, and then the medicine reaches the cancerous cells. Clear? Some common receptors, or let's call them identifiers for cancerous cells, are there. Now, there is a type of cancer called breast cancer. And in breast cancer also, chemotherapy is given, targeted chemotherapy is given. But sometimes the cancerous cells of breast cancer, what happens is, does not have these receptors. There are 3 key receptors, okay? 3 key identifiers through which you identify a cancerous cells. All 3 of them are absent. This is known as triple negative breast cancer, okay? Now, Tata Memorial Center has identified a cure for this, okay? Plus, Tata Memorial Center has also identified another cure. You know, when you give someone chemotherapy, they get cured, but then the cancer relapses. It occurs again at the same place. This happens because, well, certain cancer cells were able to hide from the chemotherapy and they remained dormant. And when the chemotherapy was over, the person was cured, they again came back. Tata Memorial Center basically found out how to identify these hidden cancerous cells also so that no relapse happens. So this is the entire story. So let's talk about this, okay? So triple negative breast cancer. So what was in the news? So researchers there have found a critical vulnerability in triple negative breast cancer, TNBC, which makes up almost 31% of breast cancer cases in India. Okay, researchers at Tata Memorial Center identified drug-tolerant persisters. These are those cancer cells, DTPs are those cancer cells which remain hidden. Okay, residual cancer cells surviving chemotherapy by entering a dormant state. Okay, so they found a cure for DTPs. But first, let's talk about these triple negative cells. Okay, so let's suppose this is a cancer cell. Okay, now let me change the color. Yeah, so let's suppose this is a cancer cell. Now there are 3 ways to identify this cancer cell. Either there is a estrogen receptor, progesterone receptor, or HER2 receptor. Okay, sometimes only one of them is available and you identify the cancerous cells through either one of them. Okay, but what if all 3 are absent? Then it becomes very difficult for you to identify cancerous cells. Yes, very simple. So this is known as triple negative breast cancer. Clear? Now you have an idea what is triple negative breast cancer. All 3 receptors or identifiers are absent. Okay, now let's change the color back. Okay, so about this triple negative. So let's get some information about the theory of this cancer. So TNBC is a breast cancer that tests negative for all 3 key receptors. Okay, this makes it more challenging to treat with targeted therapies, targeted chemotherapy. So treatment typically involves chemotherapy, then surgery also. You remove the tumor via surgery, radiotherapy. You have to give overload of therapies to basically kill triple negative cancerous cells. It's a very painful process. TNBC accounts for around 31% of breast cancer cases in India and is aggressive due to lack of estrogen, progesterone and HER2 receptors. Okay. Now, the problem with these therapies is that many a times you miss out on some cancerous cells which stay alive even after the therapy. They lay dormant. And then they reactivate after 2, 3, 4, 5 years. They reactivate themselves. And when they reactivate, they even spread to other organs, which is known as metastasis. Okay, let me write it down. So this is a huge problem. Now they have found a way to kill these dormant cells. So what is the research? These dormant cells are known as drug-tolerant persisters. They persist for long. They tolerate drugs, chemotherapy. These are residual cancer cells surviving chemotherapy by entering a dormant state. And then they relapse, they come again. Now what is the discovery? Well, the researchers at Tata Memorial Center found out that these dormant cells, DTPs, have two molecules, GPX4 and FSP1, which protect these cancer cells from chemotherapy. Okay, these two molecules act as a shield to protect these cancerous cells from chemotherapy. If you suppress one of these molecules, then that cancerous cell would get identified by the chemotherapy, would get identified and be killed. Okay, so they have found a way to block FSP1, through which, well, these dormant cancer cells would remain active and you remove them. So no more dormant cells and no more cases of relapse. Now this therapy is going to undergo clinical trials, okay, but it is a promising research. Understand? Okay, so I included this news item to give you some information about cancer and make you familiar with certain terms. Okay, receptors, drug tolerant persisters, okay, all these things. Remember these terms. They can ask an MCQ from them. Okay, all right. Now let's quickly shift our focus to third news item, and that is Sirpur Archeological Site. Now look, every year so many archaeological sites, natural sites get UNESCO World Heritage Site tag. You all know about UNESCO World Heritage Site, right? And every state wants to have more and more World Heritage Sites in their territory. Why? Because once you get a World Heritage Site tag, it boosts tourism, revenue, global interest, foreign tourists come over here. So it's important for state governments to have as many World Heritage Sites as possible. Okay. Now, Chhattisgarh has one such site known as Sirpur. It is an archaeological site. So many temples, public structures have been discovered, excavated, and it has become a tourism hub. Currently, Chhattisgarh government is developing that tourism site for tourism only. So it is developing this archaeological site for tourism so that more and more tourism happens in that area. And if Chhattisgarh government can develop this site properly, then it might get a UNESCO tag as well. That is the attempt of Chhattisgarh government. Okay, so we will talk about this archaeological site, Sirpur. Why is Sirpur significant? Some historical facts about Sirpur and certain other information. So let's quickly cover this topic. Okay, so Sirpur Archaeological Site. So what was in the news? From battery operated golf carts to digital museums, exhibits, immersive storytelling modules, Sirpur is set for facelift as Chhattisgarh pushes for UNESCO World Heritage tag for 5th century archaeological site. So this archaeological site is dated to 5th century. Okay, so Chhattisgarh government is developing it for tourism. Located 2 hours from Raipur, the capital of Chhattisgarh, Sirpur is in Mahasamund district, is a 5th to 12th century archaeological site. Okay, so these are the highlights of Sirpur. So many structures it has. So Chhattisgarh government is developing it for tourism. Now about Sirpur, some information about Sirpur. So it is located in Mahasamund district of Chhattisgarh on the banks of Mahanadi river, which flows through Chhattisgarh. It dates back to 5th to 12th century AD. It was the capital of Dakshina Kaushal under Panduvanshi and Somvanshi dynasties. Okay, so Dakshina Kaushal was the country and there were multiple dynasties, Panduvanshi and Somvanshi dynasties, which ruled from 5th to 12th century AD. In fact, it served as a capital for them. Okay, and you can find multi-religious monuments. So it was a multi-religious cosmopolitan place because you will find Hindu structures, Jain, Buddhist monuments over here. So it's a significant site. Some more information. Sirpur was an early medieval multi-religious urban center. So it was an urban center because you found secular buildings also and religious monuments also. Discovery and excavation since 1882 revealed 34 monuments, 22 Shiva temples, 5 Vishnu temples, 10 Buddhist viharas and 3 Jain viharas. Site exemplifies early urban planning with religious and commercial significance. Okay, the location forms a sacred riverine cultural landscape aligned with UNESCO criteria, combining nature and human heritage. So it fulfills UNESCO criteria as well, where UNESCO says that you combine natural and cultural environment together to get the tag. Okay, now what is the government doing so that this site gets UNESCO tag? So government plans include creating visitor-friendly access with paved pathways, battery-operated golf carts, better connectivity to monuments. Then 4 thematic clusters are being created. So for Buddhist monastic, there is one special cluster. Then Hindu temple, civic administrative, those who want to visit how the administration was run. Okay, riverine sacred landscape, all these 4 thematic tourism clusters are being created. Transfer of 30 acres of state land to Archeological Survey of India for its management. So these are the preparations being done. Simple. That's about it. Let's quickly shift our focus to next news item, and that is Higher Education Commission of India Bill 2025. Now you see, in India, higher education, university education, college education is regulated by multiple bodies. For university grants, for higher education, there is University Grants Commission, UGC. For technical education, engineering and all, there is AICT, okay, All India Council for Technical Education. For teachers training and teachers education, there is National Council for Teacher Education. So there are multiple regulatory bodies for higher education. Now this creates complications, okay, multiplicity. So government wants one nation, one regulatory body for higher education. So government wants to combine all of them into one body called Higher Education Commission of India. Yes, you'll keep legal education and medical education outside, but all the other kinds of education would be under this HECI. The government tried doing that in 2018, but there was strong opposition to this, okay? That is why government dropped the idea. Now, government is again bringing this idea back in through a bill known as Higher Education Commission of India Bill, which is going to be tabled in winter session this year, okay? Plus this reform, this law, is also in alignment with National Education Policy 2020. Okay, so we'll talk about Higher Education Commission Bill, but we'll only talk about certain points because more would come out, more details would come out once the government tables this bill in the Parliament. Okay, so we'll only talk about this topic briefly, only a few points. All right, so Higher Education Commission Bill. So what was in the news? The Centre will table the HECI Bill 2025, which seeks to constitute a single regulatory authority for higher education. The move comes 5 years after National Education Policy 2020 recommended the formation of such authority. Okay. Now, so it is in alignment with NEP 2020. So key takeaways, key thing that the government will do. The bill proposes a single regulatory authority for higher education. So combine UGC, AICT, NCTE as recommended in NEP. UGC regulates higher education, AICT technical education, NCTE teachers education. Now some key features of the bill. Okay, so under the bill, HECI would be formed. Okay, HECI would be formed, and under HECI there would be 4 other organizations subsidiary to HECI. What are those 4 verticals? So there will be HECI on top and then 4 other organizations under it. One is National Higher Education Regulatory Council, okay, to regulate all the colleges. Then National Accreditation Council, which will give standards to get accreditation from the government, recognition from the government. Then General Education Council, which will design the curriculum, learning outcomes. And then Higher Education Grants Council. Universities receive funding from the government, okay, based on certain criteria. So this organization will decide what's the criteria, will allocate funding based on that. Basically the work of UGC. And above these 4 organizations, there will be HECI. Okay. Now, how is this bill different from 2018 bill? Okay. In 2018, well, the bill said that yes, we want to create HECI, but it will only replace UGC. AICTE and NCTE were not to be replaced. So that is being changed in the current bill. Plus one thing will remain. Okay, HECI won't be able to disburse funding to universities, which was the power of UGC. Government has taken that power from UGC or HECI and kept it with Ministry of Education. Okay, so these are certain things which will become more clear once the bill comes out. So no need to get into this. Okay, yes, but let's talk about the benefits. Why is there a need for this reform? So reduce regulatory red tape, so much multiplicity, bureaucratic overload, conflicts of interest, all of that. Promote self-governing institutions excellence through transparent accreditation, institutional autonomy, and address heavy-handed regulation, light regulation of universities so that they are more free to conduct their business. Okay? But the problem is that this bill is being criticized by many. And what are the criticisms? First of all, well, this bill is being accused of centralization. The appointments to Higher Education Commission of India would be made by central government, and through this, central government is trying to control. That's the allegation. higher education. So this is there, and this would reduce university autonomy. That's the allegation. Then, well, there is no provision with respect to appointment to these regulatory bodies from weaker sections. Okay, so this is an issue. Then funding issue also. State government would be, I mean, they would have to pitch in to fund a lot of money. Okay, so states don't want to spend that much money. There is funding issue also. And parliamentary panel, which reviewed the previous 2018 bill, said that multiplicity causes inconsistencies, so new bill is required, but the new bill risks perpetuating central bias without adequate representation from states. They are also saying, the parliamentary standing committee also said that this is too centralized. By the way, we will revisit this topic once the bill is tabled in the parliament. Okay, so don't worry. And now let's move on to last news item of the day, and that is Constitution Day key facts. So our constitution was adopted on 26 November 1949. Okay, and it was came into force on 26 January 1950, Republic Day. Okay, so 26 January is Republic Day, but the Constituent Assembly adopted the Constitution on 26 November, and that is why from 2015 onwards, the government has made it a point that 26 November every year we will celebrate it as Samvidhan Divas or Constitution Day. Now, every year there is a Constitution Day, some new details come out with respect to our Constitution, how it was made, what was the behavior of members of Constituent Assembly. So this time around also an article came out which talks about certain debates, certain facts, certain opinions by members of Constituent Assembly. Okay, so in this article, well, the President of Constituent Assembly and the first President of India, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, he made certain observations when this Constitution was adopted on 26 November. So we'll talk about his observations. Okay, because an MCQ can be asked from here also. Okay, so it's a short topic. Just pay close attention. So Constitution Day key facts. So yeah, on November 26th, the Constituent Assembly adopted Constitution of India, which came into effect on 26 January. While January 26th is celebrated as Republic Day, November 26th is celebrated as Constitution Day. We have got that clear. Now let's talk about the key facts. Okay, key facts about the Constitution which you should remember by heart. Constituent Assembly took 2 years, 11 months and 17 days to draft Constitution. Okay, during this period, 11 sessions were held of the Constituent Assembly covering 165 days, and its members submitted around 7,600 amendments. So many amendments were made. Okay, cost. Well, it costed around 63,96,000 rupees to make the Constitution. Now, you might think that 63 lakhs is nothing, but imagine 63 lakhs in 1940s. It was a big amount, okay? But it's totally justified. Why? Because this amount gave us our Constitution, okay? Now, on that very day, okay, many things happened. So on 26 November 1949, two events happened. Okay, number one was resolution was passed to adopt this Constitution. Okay, then resolution was passed to adjourn the Constituent Assembly until 26 January. Adjourn the House. Okay, two resolutions were passed, and then Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel made a speech with respect to integration of princely states into India. You all know there were around 500 princely states that had to be merged into India. So Sardar Patel made a speech about their integration. Okay. Now, the President of Constituent Assembly basically on this day made certain observations. Okay. So Dr. Rajendra Prasad had certain assessments. So he said that there are two huge achievements of this Constitution. Number one was integration of so many princely states into the Union of India. That was a big achievement. And number two, solving the communal issue. Removal of separate electorates, removal of communal representation, no reservation on the basis of religion, all that. Then there are two regrets also. He said that there are two regrets. Number one regret was that the Constitution was not drafted in any Indian language. It was drafted in English. Okay, so this was one regret, and he believed that Indian Constitution, independent India's Constitution, should be in Indian language, not in the language of our colonial masters. Yet, some middle path was crafted out of this. Okay. And the other regret that he talks about is that, well, there is no qualification for becoming a lawmaker. There are qualifications for lawyers who will implement that law, or judges. There are no qualifications for MPs or detailed qualifications who are going to be lawmakers. So he regretted that. Nonetheless, this was our constitution, and with that we conclude today's session. So thank you so much for watching, everyone, and I'm sure it has added value to your preparation. But it will add more value if you revise this lecture. So please do not forget to do that, and I shall see you next time with another set of news items. Thank you, everyone.